Hey everyone, it's Pincushion here. Brick Waffle. There were a lot of skeletons out here with helmets on today. Anyway, we are back on the WaffleMods server, and I was just doing a little base defense here, and I thought I would go back inside and bring you up to speed. So in our last episode, we talked a little bit about power generation and some things we want to do to make our base a little bit better. And in between episodes, I have gotten a few things done. So you remember we put a bunch of ender pearls in this little device that we could make ender infusers and use our ender lasso. If we go back over here, you can see that we're still getting plenty of ender eyes. So we've got a little over 1,000 of those in here, and that's actually not bad considering I have now a full drum of resonant ender and a full drum of destabilized redstone, both of those hooked up with hardened fluid ducts into our fluid transposer. And you can see I've got a couple of reinforced servos here so we can pipe in from these or back out into these tanks as needed. I've also replaced the power conduit here with fluctuating item ducts. And this will actually move items and power, so all of these things are now powered up, and they can go into this ender chest, so anything that comes out of these machines goes right back on the network because of this retriever, and it's blacklisting nothing and doing round robin, so it's going to pull from this inventory and just check all these machines and then go back across and check each of the machines. It's not the fastest one yet, but it's doing pretty well so far, and it's going to be okay for us to be able to just throw things in the grinder and be done with it. And I started some ore processing earlier. I've got a little bit of osmium and aluminum left. I might go check on that in a little bit, especially if that's the same amount we have later. But we have a couple of big projects that we want to do today. And one of those is, do you remember I said I need to clean this place up and make it look a little nicer and fix this all into a better looking room? Well, we started on that today. This little reactor is running pretty close to max power. It is still producing a little more than we need, but it is almost at capacity. And if we pop down here, boom, this is the basis of our new reactor. So this is 5x5 inside. Hello, cat. Instead of 3x3, and if we go up to the top, you can see that it is the outside is 7 blocks in a cube, so the inside is 5x5x5, and we want to fill this with gelid cryothium in the center parts, and then resonant ender in the outside parts. And that is going to be a huge pain in the butt because as you're pouring the resonant ender, if you're not careful and it touches you, you'll teleport around. So in order for us to do that, we're going to want some kind of flight, because that way we can just hover over and place these things. I think what we're going to need to do is work on a jetpack. So we're going to do that, but we also need to make gelid cryothium, and I haven't gone to the Twilight Forest yet, which is where you can get blizzes and get blizz rods to grind into blizz powder. But I set up this little guy over here. We've got our captive snowman and our snow layer, and we can just very carefully hold down left click on this and just get all the snowballs we want really, really quickly. You can just see them flying out at me. So there's a couple stacks of snowballs, and if you put those with destabilized redstone, then you will actually get blizz powder. So if I do that, and then I hook up this reinforced servo to that guy, and then I say to not enabled, it's going to put redstone into this machine, and we'll see it starts putting things right onto the network. Blizz powder, there we go, and it's going to go pull off in a few seconds. Should be pulling out of there. Oh, you know what? I don't think I have anything set up to extract. There we go. Now it should be extracting into the network automatically. So that's going to make us a stack of 16 blizz powder, no problem. And blizz powder is part of what we need for gelid cryothium. So if we look up that recipe, gelid cryothium, let's see, need cryothium dust, which is a blizz powder, another snowball, niter, and redstone. And niter isn't too bad. We can get that in the nether. We've got 30 of that, so we can make plenty of gelid cryothium. We need 20 buckets total. For those 4 columns that we want to do, and that's just going to need 20 of this blizz powder as well. So that was 16, that means 10 of them has already been done. Let's get one more. There we go, and throw another 10 in there, and then we'll just throw the rest of these snowballs into our network along with this extra servo. So that's going to go ahead and crank away, make all the blizz powder that we need for the gelid cryothium for later, and the next thing we want to do is look at some jetpacks. So if we look at jetpacks, we have a lot of options here. Some armored jetpacks from Mechanism that require gas. They store hydrogen. We could do that with an electrolytic separator, but we also have these jetpacks here, leadstone jetpacks and hardened jetpacks and whatnot. These aren't too bad at all. And we can even do flux infused jet plate eventually, and these are really, really expensive. We'll probably look at better flight later on, something like the rings that you need the unstable ingots for. But here, if we look at, let's see, resonant jetpack, that requires a resonant flux capacitor, a little bit of enderium, and the previous tier. And that previous tier requires the previous tier again. You see a big pattern here. So we have to make one of these leadstone jetpacks to start with, no matter what. So leather straps, those are relatively easy. Let's do one of those. Go back to leadstone jetpacks. We need the leadstone flux capacitor. Those are pretty easy. Let's throw one of those in there. We need leadstone thrusters. That's where we're going to start running into things that we have to make. So here we need to make a steam dynamo. And for that, we're actually going to need some other things as well. So the steam dynamo needs a redstone transmission coil and some copper gears. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. We have to make 2 thrusters. And then 2 of these coils, 1, 2. Oops, not creative. I wish I could craft those. And, oop, didn't make the steam dynamo yet. And I made another piece that I didn't need yet. Oop, keep clicking the wrong thing. I promise I'm a professional Minecrafter. I know what I'm doing. This one with silver ingots. 1, 2 of those. And then we need some leadstone flux duct now. So that's a thing that comes with thermodynamics. Takes advantage of that in these recipes. And we still didn't actually craft that steam dynamo, so let's go ahead and get 2 of those. 1, 2 thrusters. Perfect. And then we should be good to go with a leadstone jetpack. Now this will probably work for us, to be honest. We can charge it up 25,000 RF. It uses 10 RF per tick, and hover mode is disabled, so that would be a real pain in the butt. We need to find one where hover mode is enabled. Oh, you know what? I think that's because you can put a hover mode on, and hover is going to use a little bit more. Let's see what it would take to turn that into a hardened jetpack. So we're going to need the same thing, but we're going to need a hardened flux capacitor. And unfortunately, that means we have to craft up one of these to get to the second tier. And then surround it with some extra materials. And we'll go through the same process here. Hardened thrusters require a reactant dynamo, which is Tinker's alloy gears. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And that requires 2 transmission coils, 1, 2 of those. Let's see if we got that right. 1, 2 of those. Good. I'm getting better at this. 2 more of these reception coils, 1, 2 of those. And that, oh, I missed something. What did I miss? Hardened flux, oh, hardened flux duct, I see. Oh, I don't quite have enough of the previous flux duct. So now that we have the thermodynamics in there, it's a little bit more annoying to make these. Let's go ahead and drop those in there. Drop those in there. Oops, and I need 1 more of these, don't I? Hardened flux duct. One more of those. Yep. That guy. Perfect. There's a tier 2 jetpack. That holds 400,000 RF. That's going to be a lot better for us in the long run. So let's pop down here and charge that. Where's our charger? Right over here. We're going to stand here and let this thing charge up. And it's not going to take very long at all. And we're actually going to go ahead and equip it because it'll charge while it's equipped, I believe. It will. Okay, so I was setting the controls and I was pressing some keys just to see what was unmapped, and I accidentally stopped the recording, so sorry about that. But you can see our jetpack fuel is 100% now. Our engine is on, and if we pop down 1 more layer, we should be able to just, fly up here. And that's actually not taking too much fuel. If you hear some noises, my cat is up here now too. Actually, that's not taking too much on the hover either. So if we hit, I think it's, well, I don't know, one of these buttons now. Nope, that one. Now we've got hover mode on, and we can hover, sort of. We still float down a little bit when we're not holding shift. So this is going to be a little bit tricky, but I think it's going to work for now. When you can see it is burning up fuel, but this is going to be enough that we can lower down, place our bucket, raise back up, lower down, place the next bucket, raise back up. And when we run too low on fuel, we can just turn that off and go back. And hello, cat. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to save my energy for now. I'm going to turn hover mode back off and hop up here, get that last little bit of charge, turn that engine off so that when I jump it doesn't burn up any, and we are going to be good to go. We're actually going to go ahead and put our armor back on until we need that jetpack. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is, let's assume we got all of our blizz powder, or let's not assume, let's check. Gelid cryothium requires cryothium dust. Boom, 54, look at that. That's perfect. And we need to put that into the magma crucible. That's what it is. Okay, and then we need to pop this servo off of here, and for that we need to get a wrench. Okay, so let's right click that guy, get him off of there. Hey, come back, come back. Where did it go? Oh, there, wow, went way over here. Okay. And we are going to put this guy into fill mode and put a servo off of that and say not enabled. Disabled. That should, oh wait, I have to turn this to, there it goes. Put that back into the correct drum. Should only be able to go into one of them. And is that right? Okay, there we go. So we are going to turn that back off for now. Toggle that back around. Perfect. Now we've got our gelid cryothium in here. And for that, we actually want to just put some buckets in here, I think. So we've got 3,500 in there and 1,000 in there. So that's going to be, what, 13.5 buckets? So we need to get some buckets in here. And I think what we want to do is maybe just go ahead and make ourselves another drum. And that way we can just take it down here and just use one bucket. So I'm guessing we don't have any weighted pressure plates. Let's get a couple of those. And we probably don't have any cauldrons. Let's get one of those. And then we'll make ourselves this drum. Bingo. Alright. So for the time being, we will pop off this resonant drum. And we'll put this up here. And that should work if we put this back to our yellow output and flip that around. Perfect. We're filling up the gelid cryothium drum. That's also going to drain out of the magma crucible. No, it won't. There it goes. Toggle that in. Get the last bit of that in there. And now I think this should be empty, and this should be empty, so we can take this wrench back off. And I don't know where it went. We'll find that in a second. And then we can pop this drum back out. There it is. Brilliant. Okay, so I think this is going to be fine for now. I'm going to go ahead and take this drum down too. And we can just put whatever drums we want, whatever servos we want as we need to use these devices. Oops, I want that drum of gelid cryothium. And I want the drum of resonant ender. And I want to make myself an ender bucket, because those, I believe, can hold... Oh, they changed this around too, but it used to be able to hold multiple buckets. I think 16 buckets at once. But you know what? That looks like that might not be worthwhile anymore. We're just going to use a regular bucket and keep hitting this drum as we need it. So we'll just grab those for now, and we can head downstairs and start placing this stuff in. So put our jetpack back on. We're going to want to put our drums down somewhere, so let's just drop, actually let's drop them up top, because that's going to be where we want to fly back up and refill. And we'll put one on the edge here, and oh, perfect, one over there. And we will turn our hover mode and our engine back on. Nope, that's the wrong button. There it is. And then we need to break, actually let's go ahead and break all of this glass around the edges, because that's going to be easier when we're trying to fly up if we can just fly right back out of here. And we can always get this resonant, or reactor glass at the end. Oh, my cat is going crazy in the background, so I apologize if you can hear her. She is playing with her toy right now. So we'll put that in our inventory. We've got our bucket. Let's fly up here, and let's, I think what we're going to have to do is put one of these here, and then it's going to flow out, and we'll put another one, and we're going to have to put in the resonant ender in between these things, but I think it's going to be easier to see if we start with the gelid cryothium at each level. And I should probably just go ahead and grab a couple of buckets of that normally. Let's go pop down here, put that on, and then this is going to be tricky too, because what happens if I touch this is going to teleport me to a random location. So we have to try and get down here and place a bucket there, and keep an eye on the fuel. Bucket there, there, and you'll see that as we go through, this is going to be a little bit tedious. So I'm going to keep doing this, and I will get, oops, I will get back with you guys when I have this thing filled up. Okay, well, we got a good part of the way through. We've got a couple more layers to go. I'm running low on jetpack fuel, and it turns out I did not make enough of this gelid cryothium. So I am going to go ahead and make some more of that, charge up the jetpack, and get to it, and I'll give you another progress update when we have this thing all capped off. Alright, and that should be it. There's gelid cryothium in the center, and resonant ender around the outside. And if we float our way down here, we have, do we have no fuel in this? Okay, we need to put some fuel. I think we have some fuel, but we need to get a little bit more. Let's hop up here real quick. I don't know why I did that. We've got the remote now. But let's go ahead and grab a stack of Yellorium in here. And you can see we've got some more that we need to craft. But for now, this should be good. Pop that in there. And let's crank this thing on. Activate reactor. And let's see. Oh, wow. Look at that. Wow, that's going to look a lot nicer. The reactor temperature is way higher than it was before because we've got some good coolant in there. We're at 12 kilo RF per tick. And if we go back to our previous reactor, this thing is cranking out 1.31. So this is a terrible little reactor. This is going to be, yeah, just about, well, almost at least 10 times faster, almost 12 times more power than the other reactor. And that's going to be plenty for our needs. So let's go ahead and pop up here. Let's turn off our jetpack for now. Okay, turning off our jetpack without turning off the recording is going to be good. I probably should move these keys around. But this tesseract no longer needs to be here. We can pull that off. There we go. And this reactor provides way more power than this network needs. In fact, we could put more wireless extenders on here too. But let's go ahead and pop this tesseract onto the side of that. Oh, and it's not going to work because we're going to need cables to pull the power out of there. We discovered that last time. Okay, so that needs to be on send receive, and we're going to need to make a cable. Let's check that one more time. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we are going to need some of this cable here. Do we have any more flux duct? Flux duct. What do we have here? We have some resonant, and what does that pull? 32,000 RF per tick. That's going to be plenty for the time being. We're still only putting out 12 per tick here, and that should be giving all the power we need in a big way to the rest of our base. Now this reactor is now only powering the network and our little charger here, and you can see we've still got a couple of pieces of hardened flux duct, and that takes 14,000 RF per tick, and we've got, I don't know, what is that, 1, 2, 3 pieces back there, maybe 3 or 4. But that's going to keep this AE network going pretty much indefinitely. We are burning up some fuel here, but now we can crank this thing way back down because we don't need anywhere near that much power. If you look and see, put some gobbledygook in here, and take some screenshots, and also turn off NEI. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Yeah, that's charging up fast. So we can go up here and crank these control rods down in there, and I'm thinking we could probably go 80 or 90%. Dampen the reaction, and we're just going to put out just enough power. You see that that's going down, yeah, dropping through the floor here. And what do we have? Yeah, so we're dropping power now, 144 a tick, but we're not going too fast. Let's go ahead and crank this back up. We'll play around with this a little bit, and we'll top off some more yellorium. So I'll bring it down to 70. Yeah, even that is going too fast. So we're going to go to 80 for now and call it good. As long as we're not losing power, as long as we end up with a little bit of buffer. Yeah, so we're still putting more power into this network than we're drawing out of it. So excellent. That can run this network for a very long time to come. Let's go ahead and top off that yellorium, and we're going to smelt the rest of this up and check on the smeltery. So pop that in there. Pop that back in there. Hop up a level and throw this in the ore chest. That's a good sign. All the ore is gone into the smeltery network. And one thing we're going to do with all this extra power now is start working on a few other things like mechanism so we can get even more ore than doubling. For now, though, we're going to need that power a little faster than we can use our mechanism stuff. Whoa, hello, lots of mobs. Are we good here? It looks like we're still pouring osmium out. We have all sorts of things up here. We are going to have a little bit of Invar and osmium, gold, yellorium, lead, iron, aluminum, and we've still got all sorts of things coming in. There's some more ferrous ore. There's all that yellorite. And yeah, so we're going pretty well. At some point we'll have to go to the nether and probably see how we're doing, but as long as this is running, I'm happy to let it keep running. And it's going to have tons of osmium in it. So yep, we're doing pretty well with that. I'm going to call that project complete, and we should now have lots and lots of power for all the things we need to do. Now I don't think this jetpack would be a good item for flying around and exploring. I think we're still going to be doing that by boat or on foot in the short term, just because there's not a really easy way for us to charge that out in the field. When we get all the way out there, then we still have to walk back. So let's pop down here, ignore those screenshots I took while I was randomly pressing keys earlier, and move on to our next thing. So you might have noticed that I skipped over one device that I made, which is the metallurgic infuser here, and this is going to help us make a lot of the things we need for mechanism. And mechanism is going to give us things like 3x ore processing, and that's probably where we're going to get to before we bother going out of the tech mods and start working on some magic mods. So in order to do that, we're going to need a lot of steel. And if we look at the metallurgic infuser, actually let's go ahead and click that. I think we click this, we can get recipes. So this is going to be enriched alloy using compressed diamonds to get enriched alloys into reinforced alloys. We can use compressed obsidian to get them into atomic alloys. We can convert copper into bronze. We can convert dirt into podzol. And we can turn obsidian powder into refined obsidian dust. And then we can use all sorts of things like that. So this is kind of the gateway to make all the basic materials we need for mechanism. So if we look at, I need to turn NEI back on. Let me see if I can click out here. Nope. This one, that one, there we go. Okay, so what we need is steel for a lot of this stuff. And steel, you'll be able to see, where is regular old steel? Steel dust. Steel dust for mechanism. So we can enrich dirty steel dust in a chamber. That's from steel clump. There's different things here. That's not what I was looking for, actually. Steel ingot. Yes, Tinker's Construct steel ingot. So from here, we can do, and the steel dust and mechanism, there it is, induction smelter. An induction smelter can take iron and 4 charcoal and a bunch of power to make steel, or it can take, where is it? I clicked the wrong thing. An iron and 2 coal and the same amount of power to make steel. We got plenty of coal on the network right now. We got about 1,000 of that. We already have 29 pulverized coal. We're still getting some more from our quarry. We got loads of iron right now as well. So if we look at iron ingots, we got about 1,000 of that. So we can make at least 500 steel. And for all of that stuff, we need an induction smelter. And the induction smelter is going to require... that's not what I thought it was. Induction... I thought it was an induction smelter. Is that the different thing? Let's check one more time. Maybe I'm just confused. Steel ingot. Induction smelter. Okay, yeah, it is. It is a... it is that. It's not for mechanism. But that's going to give us steel ingots from Tinker's Construct. And those can be used with the ore dictionary to make all sorts of mechanism things as well. You can crush them into steel dust with a crusher. So yeah, we are going to go ahead and make one more thing, which is an induction smelter from thermal expansion. Okay, so let's make some machine frames. There's a basic machine frame. We need a tin gear. Fantastic. Let's do that. Tin gear. And get our basic frame. Then we're going to turn that into the hardened frame. There we go. Machine frame. So we're going to need an electrum gear. And this is going to be a little bit tedious, but you'll hopefully you can bear with me. And then we're going to do... Oh, too far. I hate when it cycles through. Reinforced. That's going to need a signalum gear. And we need some signalum. So I'm going to go ahead and make one of these things up. Just to get it up to the top resonant tier, and I'll be back with you when I've got this thing all set up. Okay, we are back, and this little induction smelter is not the fastest thing in the world. You can see it is effectively working, though. I've created 2 of these. We're going to see another steel ingot go through here in a second. And actually, I don't even think you're seeing them. They're going straight into the network. But let's take a quick peek over here and see steel. We got 2 there. We should see a third one here in just a minute. Not the fastest thing, like I said, but it is working. And we might want to make some servos. Ooh. There's some steel dust. Why is it making steel dust? Okay, so we can see, well, you can't really see that it's making steel here, but you can see that these devices are not activating anymore. So when that's done, it's going into the network. If we check over here, we have 34 steel, and we should get a 35th one here shortly. There we go, 35. So it's going right in here. What I had to do is put servos on each of these so that it's pulling out of these devices, and these servos only allow things to go one direction. They don't allow them to go back in. That means this reinforced retriever is kind of unnecessary now. But I guess technically things could end up in the metallurgic infuser if I don't have the retriever. Although mechanism has some other controls where you can say that this is an output side only. And it does seem to respect that, even though it doesn't respect the Ender IO input and output only, because this is also set to push down here only and not to have any kind of interface. It was still putting things in there. The important thing though is it's working now. We're not using flux, although we could, to make more of this stuff and make rich slag and all that goodness. But we do have quite a few steel ingots, and that's going to help us with a lot of our mechanism machinery. Alright, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here for today, so hopefully you enjoyed this. I know there was a little bit of confusion about how to use some of this new stuff from thermodynamics, the servers, the retrievers, and all that good stuff. But the good news is we got steel going, we've got our bigger reactor online, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time between episodes carving out some space, and I don't know what was going on with Journey Map up there. What I want to do next is work on a more aesthetically pleasing AE network, so we're going to do the setup down there, and we'll probably dismantle that old reactor once we have everything running and online. I think 12 kilo RF per tick is going to be plenty to power everything we need for now. So if you did like this video, please do hit that like button. If you really enjoyed it, then please subscribe. And as always, I've been Brick Waffle. Thank you for watching.